Welcome to this edition of Video Drone by DIY3DTech.com. In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a program by the name of Tinkercad. One of the things that I do on my other channel, DIY3DTech.com, is design various 3D parts. And what I'm going to do is show you guys how to use Tinkercad to design parts as a drone enthusiast. Because one of the pieces that we're going to do here is use it to design a mounting bracket for the back of the Syma X8 controller to add a long-range high-powered antenna, which I salvaged from a Linksys router. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of start with the base here. And so my measurements, and I've already taken the measurements of the controller and the antenna and pieces like that, so it's very important to get your measurements up front. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to about 37 wide, and this is all going to be in millimeters, by the way. So I find that even though being in the US, it's kind of the easiest to work in. And another important thing is to keep your dimensions straight between X, Y, and Z. So this is going to be the base module that's going to actually attach to the Syma controller. Now, the next thing we need to do is I want to get that for perspective, but now the other piece that I'm going to move in here is actually going to be the block for the actual antenna housing itself. So with this, again, I've taken the measurements, and I need to be about 25, I'm actually going to go 27 millimeters tall. And then I need to be about 24. I'm doing some estimation here, so I'm going to need to be about I'm going to leave this at 20, so about 19.5 wide and then 17 tall. So I'm going to actually make this so I want this to be 27 tall. And then I wanted this to be, so my opening is going to be about 12.25 millimeters, and just kind of thinking aloud here. So I want it at least 25 millimeters so I can offset it. So I'm going to make this 25, I think. Well, no, I'm going to go back to 27. So 27, and then I'm going to actually make this now 30 tall, because I have that. So now this will be my base block to mount my antenna, and then I'm going to actually change this to an orange, so I can, if I click on orange, so I can actually see the delta in color. Now, one of the things I want to do is I want to taper the back edge of this. So I want to bring this in, and then what I want to do is make this a little bit wider, and then what I'm going to do is actually take this, how long this is, 20, I'm going to make this about 30, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this arrow and rotate it to about 45 degrees, and if I hit shift, it'll lock it into 45 degrees. I'm going to turn this into a hole, and then what I'm going to do is intersect it with this, and then actually raise it up just ever so much to create, because what I want to do is take a notch out of this back, so it actually kind of sits on the table a little bit, or sits on any type of flat surface. I just want a little bit of a notch, and not too much of a notch. You can't move up and down with the cursor keys, Joe. So I got that. So alright, so now I'm going to join this, and then I'm going to group this, and boom, I have sort of my notch. Now what's going to happen is this is going to sit on top of this, and I'm going to pass some screws through this. But before I do that, I need to actually hollow this out. So what I'm going to do is, I'm about 20 wide right here, so I have to leave myself a little bit of a shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to take this duplicate, and since I'm going to need about 2 millimeters on each side, that's going to be about 4 in total. I'm going to drop this down to about 16 millimeters in width, and then I want the same on the top, at least 2 millimeters. So I'm going to drop this. Actually, I'm not going to drop it at all. I need to think about this a second, because I'm going to use this to actually pull it out. So, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I've got my width. So I just need to do my depth now. So I need to back off the 30 by 4. So now I need to be at 26. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this as a whole, and then put this actually inside of here. Now, one of the things that I need to do is I need to lower this down, and one of the things, I need to move this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my center tool to do an align. So this is going to be aligned, and this is already aligned here, and so that's good. However, now what I need to do is go here and say, I'm going to go -3. And so what that has done is pulled my block down, so it actually sticks out the bottom. Now, one of the things I need to do is also now create my round opening. So my opening is about 12.25 millimeters, so I'm going to go about 12.27 to give myself some extra room, because plastic tends to expand. So 12.27, and that's pretty good. And then so what I need to do is now turn this at 90 degrees. So I hit the mouse and the shift key, and now I'm there. So this will make the opening for my antenna mounting, or my lug, which the antenna will connect to, and that will sit in there. Now, one of the things I do want to do, I am terrible with that, you'll find out with the saying do want to do. So I've now centered that. I should be pretty good there. So I've got this. Now this is all good. Now what I need to do is bring this in and kind of center it. So I'm going to use my center tool up under a line just to kind of bring all this into center. And so you see I've got my piece sticking out the bottom here. So this is sticking out the bottom, and now the only other thing I want to do is I want to create some bolt holes for this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 3 millimeters. So if I go by 3, I go 3, and then I turn this into a hole. And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate this, and so now I have 2 of them. So we will see if we can't get one in the front and one in the back. We might have to do some jockeying to make this all work. So I don't know if I have enough material on the front. I might have to do some readjusting, because I've got more in the back. So I can go up. So I want to select this and just scooch it up a little bit. The other thing I need to do is I need to change the snap a little bit so I have a little bit more latitude. And so then what I want to do is again kind of go, I'm going to highlight all my objects, and then I'm going to redo an align, and then boom, I've got this set up. And so now see, I've got my holes. This one's looking a little bit tight, so I'm going to scooch this up a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is take this, select this hole, and also scooch it up a little bit. There. Well, I'm going to go a little bit more. And I'm sticking out proud enough of the block, I don't think I'll have a problem with this screw head. And then I'm just going to move these down a little bit so I'm clearly sticking through the piece. And I'm just kind of taking a look at everything, and so you can kind of see how all the pieces are arranged. And I just want to make sure everything's centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this whole thing, and then I'm going to hit group, and there I go. So notice how it's hollowed out, and now I have my object. I do want to check something here, so I'm still at 37, and I want to make sure I'm at 40. That one top bolt hole still concerning me because I still have a little bit of room in the back. So I'm going to undo this, undo my group, and so as you see, now have this back. So what I'm going to do is still move this up a few fractions of millimeters, and then again move this piece, this hole up a few, just so I make sure I've got enough room in that headroom to clear the bolt head, because I'm going to probably use like a number screw to mount these. Alright, so let's go back and do that. Alright, so now I've got my piece, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to send this to the printer and print, and then we'll go install it. So let's hop over and check out this thing printing.